Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more dedicated Legacy action. We recently had the ban and restricted list update where they said Legacy was fine because cards like Leyline Binding are keeping Delver in check, which is obviously nonsense, but I decided I would play a Leyline Binding deck today. So we are playing Rhino Time. The aim of this deck is to cast a Shardless Agent, Violent Outburst or Ardent Plea on turn 1 of the game and put 8 power into play. Sometimes it will be 10 power if you have the Shardless Agent. And then you protect it with a series of counter spells which you can play without affecting your cascade curve. So things like Mystical Dispute, which is kind of like a Red Blast-ish. It's a Red Blast on the stack, but obviously you can play it without impacting your cascade chain, so that's fine. You've got these Brazen Borrowers to bounce stuff. We've got Fire and Ice, an oldie but a goodie. Because it has converted mana cost 4, it doesn't get hit by the cascade chain, so you get to do a little bit of damage to something, or you can tap things and draw a card. So it's not incredible, but it's the tools we have to work with. We also have Minsk and Boo as like a curve topper, which is obviously just a very powerful card, and we can sometimes ramp it out with our multitude of Spirit Guides. We have a single Teferi Time Raveler, which is going to be useful if we need to get this one out and then protect ourselves from counter spells. We can kind of use it as a bit like a defense grid, as well as it just being a good card. And then we have these 4 Leyline Bindings, where this deck actually seems alright with the Leyline Binding because you want spells that you can cast for less than their mana cost. So maybe this is a good spot for it, who knows. Other than that, the deck's pretty straightforward. So we want to be trying to get lots of power in play on turn 1, a big focus on what our opening hand looks like. And yeah, that's about it really. As for the sideboard, we have this Khorne, so we got Bribery on a suspend spell. So basically we're going to be cascading into this against Reanimator and Sneak and Show decks and putting in their biggest, scariest threat in, hopefully on turn 1. So we might even be able to race them using their own deck, which would be pretty cool. Then we just got a few other sort of big hits. So if we need to play against counter spells, we've got the Mystical Disputes. We've got Force of Negations if our opponent's doing something really broken and fast that we need to disrupt. And we've got just these great cards here, the Endurance and the Fury, which can be cast for free. So we can interact without impacting our cascade curve, as well as just maybe eventually casting these and having pretty reasonable beaters from them. Energy Flux is a nice one against all the artifact decks because you can just completely stonewall them early on and there's not really much they can do about it. And then we have a single Force of Vigor, so you're bringing in a suite of 3 cards against things like 8 cast and so on and so forth. I think that's about it. I've not played a single game with this deck. We're just going to go in cold and see how much fun we can have with it, really. So yeah, let's see how good Leyline Binding really is. Let's jump into a league. Alright, so we won the die roll and we're on the play. Our opening hand does not go anywhere, so I think we have to mulligan this one. This opening hand requires 1 more mana source in order to function. We have, 19 lands and another, so we have got 18 lands and 7 Spirit Guides. So the chance of us hitting one of these lands seems relatively high. Whether or not we want to throw this back and go again, I don't know. We don't really want to play the Footfalls out on turn 1. Because if we get hit with the Wasteland, we're not casting our spells at all. This is a tricky one. I think maybe... So I'd have to get a specific Spirit Guide for this one, but this one is either, so this is fine. So I think we're going to try and trust that we can make the 8/8 on turn 2. Is that good enough? I'm reluctant to go particularly low. No, I think we'll keep, because we've got multiple shots if we have the mana. So we're going to be able to stick a load of 8/8s. We'll put this one, we're going to stick this one back on the bottom. We're not going to play this one out because we don't want to expose ourselves to Wasteland. We're just going to play a Scalding Tarn and go. I think that's our best play. If they're a counterspell deck, then we have multiple tries of forcing it through as long as we hit the mana sources for it. And if they're an aggressive deck, we don't have to worry about the counter spells, so as soon as we manage to get these down, we're going to get some big creatures in play. Now, if they're a deck that's trying to do broken combo stuff, they're probably just going to beat us, because this deck isn't doing the most broken of combos. It's just a little combo, just making little 8/8s, making 2 4/4s at an undercosted rate. So our opponent mulliganed as well, so we're going to pass the turn here. We don't want to crack this for the slight marginal chance of drawing more land by not taking one out of our deck. Okay, so our opponent has played a Lotus Petal. This doesn't bode well for us. They played Lion's Eye Diamond, so this is looking like could be the Epic Gamble, the Epic Storm, it could be 8 cast, could be sorry, not 8 cast because the Lion's Eye. Yeah, okay, so this is the Epic Gamble. So we're not going to have this hand for very long. They're going to cast an uncounterable Echo of Eons by discarding their hand here. So what this deck aims to do is just play a load of spells and then just keep rinsing and repeating with draw 7s until it can combo off with Storm. But it has a lot of ability to refuel, so it can play to the board and then still go the next turn. It doesn't have sort of one big turn necessarily. You can have several turns and grind through a bit more. Grim Monolith, sure. So the next instant or sorcery is still going to be uncounterable because of the Overmaster. Okay, so there's the Echo of Eons. So we're going to get a new 7. For better or worse. Okay, we don't have any interaction here, so maybe the next 7 will be better for us. We also don't have the Spirit Guide. I guess we could have pitched the Spirit Guide first and have the mana floating so that we could maybe cast one of these spells. I'm not sure how good that would be necessarily though. We kind of need the Spirit Guides in our deck so that we can power out a Shard's Agent or something. Our game plan is not going to be very effective in this matchup. Horn of Harrenfell. So this lets them discard a card to basically draw 2 cards for the turn. So this should be... how many cards have we got? 2 cards in hand. So they are pretty odds on here. Okay, so they've got the Burgie. If they can cast the Burgie... depends what the last card in their hand is, I think. Okay, so they just discard in their hand and they're going to use the Lion's Eye Diamond to play the Burgie. And then they can smash off all these. That's not the way you want to do it. They've missed out on a mana there by not using this one because they can play the Burgie first and get the additional mana from playing the Lion's Eye Diamond, so it adds 4 instead of 3. So these could have been giving them mana every turn here. Like they have the win here because they can crack this and this to play the Burning Wish and then crack these 2 for black to get Tendrils. And then we are dead. So not great for us. But they have to be aware of the line they're going for here. Sure. Let's make sure that they know how to use their deck. I will just show you it because it takes a few seconds of time to really show. Got Tendrils of Agony. They point at our face. This triggers. Loads of copies. Concede. Alright, so this matchup is one of the ones that I suspect to be very poor. So we have these energy fluxes. We have mystical disputes. We have forced negations. We have endurances. And we have forced vigor. So we have a lot of stuff here that we can bring in. So the leyline bindings won't do anything in this matchup. And the fire ice is pretty useless here too. This is our core engine really, so we can't manipulate much of this apart from maybe the Brazen Borrower. If we do that, that's a pretty clean cut actually. So basically board in all these things and we have our endurance. Our endurance isn't going to be great. There's not many chances you get to catch the Echo of Eons in the graveyard. It's not something that lingers there for very long, so I might not have priority by the time they cast it. But what we can do is have free interaction spells, which can't hurt too much. So we're going to run it like this. The Mystical Dispute isn't fantastic here, but it is better than this removal here, because this isn't doing anything for us. So we may as well have something that can at least interact with their draw 7. So we're going to submit this deck like this. So this is our opening hand. We can't do our thing, so I don't think we really want this. I think we need to put pressure on and then have a spell to hold up. So we're going to mulligan. This one gives us turn 2 Spirit Guide with Mystical Dispute backup. Sorry, turn 2 Shard's Agent with Mystical Dispute backup, which I don't think is great. But I think we can. It's just about good enough to keep here. So we probably put back the Snowcovered Forest since we're not really caring about what they're doing in terms of our mana base here. So we play this out and we can try and snag something with our Mystical Dispute. Now this could just not work, but at least we have an out here. So they don't always go off on turn 1 with the Epic Gamble. So this might be a defense grid turn. A Grim Monolith, sure. Lines are diamond, yep. If their plan is to Echo of Eons here, they can pay using the Grim Monolith, but we can at least tax them 3 mana here. Overmaster, sure. So this isn't going to really work for us, is it? Because they're just going to spin the wheel here. And this spell is going to be uncounterable. So the question here is, would we like... if we crack this, we're going to have less lands in our, slightly less lands in our deck. So I think we'll crack this now and get... both of our cascade spells are... all of Tropical Island can cast part of all of the cascade spells in our deck. So I think Tropical Island is the one we get here. And then we spin this wheel. Okay, so we have a Mystical Dispute if they go for another one and don't have an Overmaster to back it up, which is about the best we can hope for here. We're not going to be able to do much else. And we're going to need to draw something to even get our cascade chains going. So there's the Overmaster again. They're going to Burning Wish here. So the Mystical Dispute is not looking amazing here. But again, it's still better than Leyline Binding would be in this spot. Because at least we have something that might be able to catch a draw 7. A Galvanic Relay. So they're going to have a whole load of spells for next turn. I see. So this matchup feels like we're going to be losing it pretty handily. But this was more or less how I was expecting this to go. Let's just pass through all these. So have a lot of cards in their exile zone. Can we have a look? So we've got Spirit Guide that we can hit. An Echo of Eons. A Burgie. We probably need to counter. And then they've got another Galvanic Relay. So this is not what we want here. I think we just play out the fetch land here. I don't know if there's any point using the Crashing Footfalls here. If we leave our mana open, we might get a Spirit Guide and can hardcast a Mystical Dispute. At the moment, we're sort of looking like we might be priced into Force of Will, pitching Shardless Agent, and then Mystical Disputing the Echo of Eons here, if that's what they go for. Like, you can just go for another big Galvanic Relay this turn, and there's not a huge amount we can do about that. Our cards just line up very poorly. Alright, so we have the defense grid here. So if we counter the defense grid, that at least gives us a shot at doing something. I think we have to counter this. So if we draw one of our Cascaders next turn, we can go off. I say go off. We put 2 4/4s into play, which feels pretty anemic compared to our opponents going off here. We've added to their Storm count for the purposes of Galvanic Relay, which is certainly relevant here. Burgie. We can't counter Burgie because we have Mystical Dispute here. So they can generate a whole load of mana here. And they have a Burning Wish if they want to go down that line. Our best bet is if they're probably not even going to bother with the Echo of Eons here. They don't have to, right? So Storm is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they have a line here that wins them the game if they can take it. They can just go up the chain, cast Burning Wish, go and get 10 draws, point it at my face with the 2 Lotus Petals for black mana. Because they have all the red mana and colourless mana they need now. So yeah, they can just play a Chrome Mox for Storm, they don't have to imprint anything on it. This generates 1 red mana just by being cast because of Burgie, so it's a Lotus Petal that sticks around from enabling Metalcraft when you have a Burgie in play. Burgie is a hell of a magic card. Right, so they've got another one of these. Yep, so Storm is lethal now, so they can just cast the Burning Wish. Our only way of winning this game is if they, for some reason, decide they want to try and draw 7 instead of trying to Burning Wish us. Okay, yeah, so they're just going to Burning Wish us for 10 draws. We just concede here. So this is the hand we've been given here. It makes 2 4/4s on turn 2 with Force of Will backup. Is that good enough? Actually, no, it doesn't, because this is this requires white mana, so we definitely have to ship this one. What does this hand do? This is turn 3 to make guys with Force of Will backup. We have to mulligan again. Jeez, this deck does not like giving me good hands, does it? I think... Yikes. I think we have to mulligan again. Okay, this is... Oh, well, this is going to have to be alright, isn't it? So we put back one of these. We want to keep Savannah. Well, we keep one of these. I think if we've been off... We need to keep the Wooded Foothills because we have to fade a turn of not getting hit by Wasteland. And Wasteland's going to be more common than Stifle. So I think we put back the Savannah here and get Savannah with the Wooded Foothills. And then obviously we have to get rid of the Fire and Ice. So we have... We can do our thing, which isn't even that good of a thing. So, not feeling optimistic about this one. Our opponent's probably assuming we're Reanimator or something, or because that's the deck that tends to mulligan the most heavily. So, Once Upon a Time is usually reserved for elf decks. So, basic Forest, it's a pretty common elf card. A Green Sun Zenith for Dryad Arbor. So, this could be something like a Maverick deck. But my initial impression is that we are looking at an elf deck. So how good is my play going to be here? What we have. So we're not really playing around Wasteland anymore. We are potentially playing around Opposition Agent. If it's one of the, if it's the green-black one, it sometimes has a singleton Opposition Agent to tutor for using Fiend Artisan. So they could have that in their hand. But I think we're just going to hold this Wooded Foothills for now. Okay, so there's no black mana available anyway. An Elvish Visionary. So this turn we make some guys and hope it's remotely good. We can make them instant speed, possibly to catch someone on blocks, which isn't the worst. So I think we play this out. So this will give us +1 power on attacks. This one is only sorcery speed. So is it going to be more worth my time to try and block an Elvish Visionary? I think it probably is. Every creature I can get off the board is going to help. Post-board, we're going to get these Furies in, which should be nice. Like, there's an option for boarding the Bribery and just taking out their Crater Hoofs or their Progenitus, if they have a Progenitus in the deck for the next game. The Progenitus is going to be better than the Rhinos here. So ideally what we want our opponent to do is attack us. If they attack us, then things get better. Okay, so this is definitely the sort of mid-rangey build. Are they going to go into it? So then we're going to crack this. What land do we want here? Probably Savannah, so we've got all of our colours for the Leyline Bindings that we can draw. So exile this, we'll cast this. Need red from this. I'll take green from this. So we're gonna get an Elvish Visionary here. So we get to kill one of their guys, which is something. It's not great, but it's okay. So this looks like it's going to be more like the mid-rangey build, which is going to be marginally better for us, I think. So I think we go to attacks, and then we just make 2 more 4/4s. Like, we're susceptible to getting comboed out for sure, but we do get to make another bunch of lads. Okay, so we'll exile this for green. That's for blue. Tap this for green. Cast this. This is also 2 power as well, so this is better than the Ardent Plea. Let's get some more rhinos. It's rhino time. So we've got 18 power and a bunch of it has trample. So if our opponent can't wombo us this turn, we might be right. We can also block a reasonable amount of damage with the bodies we have here from a Crater Hoof turn. So if we draw another mana source, we can get the last rhinos out of our deck. So this is probably getting Gaia's Cradle, so they can just cast a Crate Hoof Behemoth and kill us. That is what I expect to happen. So even though we did the thing, it doesn't look like it's going to be good enough. But we'll see. The fact that they're thinking about it for a minute brings me a little bit of hope. Maybe they have a lot of mana but don't have the immediate route to Crate Hoof. A Visionary, sure. So they're digging for Crate Hoof now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this taps for 5, 6, 7 mana. So they can't hardcast Crate Hoof or Green Sun Zenith for it yet. They need a Heritage Druid or something like that. We're still in it. And if they don't kill us this turn, then they're going to have to lose a load of guys just to soak up this trample damage. So this is very much a do or die turn for them. Allosaurus Shepherd. Okay, so this gives them the ability to make their guys big enough to block our rhinos, which is not great. So let's do a little bit of maths on our turn. So they get 3, 5, 5. So they block 3 of these. So 4 of this. So 3, 4, 5 is the most I can guarantee coming through, which is not a great amount, is it? Yeah, this is a tricky one. I don't know if suspending the footfalls is going to work here, but we don't really have a way of shuffling it into our deck. So I think we just have to play this. And we can't attack. If we'd have drawn another mana source, we could have played this and then attacked with and had a 5/5, so we'd at least have to trade with something. But I don't think we can attack because all that will happen is they'll take 4, but then they'll kill 3 of my rhinos because all of these will be 5/5s. So this isn't very good for us. Okay, they're Reclaimer. Jukabog goes. Fetch. So the reason they got the fetch down here is because they can crack on their turn and this guy will be a 3/4. So when they do the base power of 5, this will be +2/+2. So it will end up being a 7/7. So it'll always be able to deal more damage here. So this doesn't give trample, importantly. This just makes them bigger. So I can chump up with a Shardless Agent if that becomes something I want to do. Okay, our opponent's finally moving and doing something. Which means they don't have an immediate route to killing us, I suspect. Because otherwise they probably wouldn't have tanked for so long thinking about it. Green Sun Zenith for 1. So if this can get Heritage Druid, or it can get the Wirewood Symbiote, so they can start doing bounce chains with their Visionary and getting more mana, getting more things that way. Okay, so they just had the Natural Order line, so this should be Crate Hoof, and these guys are all going to be massive. So how much damage is it in total? 8. So I can block these 2 effectively, but then the rest kill me. So we have to concede this game. Okay, into the sideboard. Immediately, these Mystical Disputes seem pretty poor to me, and these Furies seem good. I quite like the idea of the Inevitable Betrayal, just so I can get the Crate Hoof and or Progenitors out of their deck. So this is probably going to be better than these Crashing Footfalls. But can I rely on just having 2 of these? Possibly. So we got this, we get 1 more slot, so we can have an Endurance just as a guy that is serviceable as an aggro creature. Is this line fine? The Brazen Borrowers are probably worse than Endurances for the most part, although they do fly if we're going to need to sort of pick people off. So I think we can board like this and we can take out their Behemoths, which is going to be one of their strongest routes to victory here. And if they do have the Progenitors, then we can just take the Progenitors out from underneath them. So this is what I'm going to try. It could definitely be wrong, but we have enough creatures to win the game with here, with the Furies and the Endurances and the Borrowers and the Minsk and Boo. So if this doesn't work, we're not just completely cold. I don't think we want any Force of Negations or any of this other stuff. So I think we're going to try it like this. And, well, let's face it, the Inevitable Betrayal is going to be fun, right? That's the plan. Actually, is the Teferi better as a... Is the Teferi better as a Endurance, or is he better as a Teferi? Because we don't really want to bounce most of their guys anyway. Maybe we just want another Endurance here. Do that. Alright, so this does a turn 1 Progenitors or Crate Hoof. So I think that's good enough. So we'll keep this. It would be nice to have a blue card to back up a Force of Will, but we're just going to stick with this for now. We're going to keep this back because we're not 100% sure what we need for this, and both of these make our Fire and Outburst work. So yeah, let's see what the scariest thing in our opponent's deck is. So from my experience, the decks run either 1 or 2 Crater Hoofs and 0 or 1 Progenitus. Now, they could have the Archon, which is the green-white guy where you name a type and basically that card type can't be played anymore. So if they have that, I can then name creatures and just shut off their whole deck. So let's see what happens here. So we'll exile this for red, exile this for green, tap this for blue, I guess. Cast this. Now this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it, but let's see. Choose target opponent. Let's see what they have in their deck, shall we? We also get a good idea of what their deck is and how they've sideboarded. So they've taken out... Let's have a look. So they've got the Grist. So I could have a turn 1 Grist, or I could just have the Crater Hoof Behemoth here and just say, can you beat me in this many turns? I think I like that. I'll just take the Behemoth here. This also means they can't just wombo me with the natural order or anything. So this feels a little bit more fun than a Rhino, at least. So it doesn't have trample on its own. So now it's just a 5/5 guy. But a 5/5 guy is alright. It's certainly bigger than a 1 mana 1/1. Okay, so we can go again and get a Grist if we want. So we need... So if we get white, red, then that gives us the best leyline bindings available. So this is green, blue. Okay. Let's go again. More stuff out of your deck, please. So what is the scariest thing here? I think we just want the Grist here, because this is their answer to my big guy, right? So we just got Thought Seizes. So we've basically blanked a load of these cards now. So I think we get the Grist here. Let's create a guy and go to attacks. Not necessarily how this deck's supposed to play out, but pretty happy about it. I do love a nice bribery. It's always a good cube pick, so hopefully it's going to carry us through here. So if they're just going to keep making these 1/1s, so they can play a Cradle now and have 2 mana. Yes, they can play a Visionary. Okay, they can play this guy. So we need to keep the insect guy back, but we can always blow one of their guys up. Okay, so this is going to give them... It's going to give them the ability to blank removal spells from Grist. So Grist won't be able to remove stuff here. Well, it can remove the Wildwood Symbiote, is the only thing it can remove, which isn't the scariest thing on my opponent's board right now. So I think we just go up and just keep making our men. And these can protect the Grist. So this can start tapping for a decent amount of mana now. So they can kill Grist if they want, but they have to swing out, and it's going to be an issue for them because they need to be able to block my 5/5. Okay, so they're putting 1 guy under the bus and taking 2 here. I think it's more important for me to kill the Allosaurus Shepherd than it is to kill the Elvish Reclaimer. Even though the Elvish Reclaimer is a 1/2, I think that's best here. But they're probably just going to bounce this Allosaurus Shepherd anyway. So yeah, okay, so there's the bounce. So, but they're going to have to lose a guy this turn because they can only bounce 1 guy at a time. So I don't want to play out this land, so I can represent Force of Will blue card. I think that's better. So this is kind of working out. Now the question is, in game 3, do they board out their Crater Hoof? Because if they know I'm trying to steal it, maybe that's best for them. Okay, so this still doesn't tap for enough mana to pump their guys. Okay, Fiend Artisan. So this is just a 2/2. And they're going to sacrifice this, and what are they going to get? Probably should have taken a screenshot of their deck. But okay, they've gone for the Windswept Heath to pump their guy for future turns. So this turn, we can, depending on what we draw, we can blow up the Wirewood Symbiote. That's not great for us. How many creatures have we got in the graveyard at the moment? 2. So we're going to ping them for 2 with this. So if we attack with just this guy, they're going to be able to do the block and bounce trick. If I sacrifice a guy to kill this, and then I attack, and I've got 1 blocker, so I block 1 of these, then I'm going to take 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. So yeah, so these 2, so all these 3 will come in, so that's 15. So I block 1, I take 10, 11, 12, 13. Is that good enough? Right, we can't just keep letting them Wirewood Symbiote here. They're just going to keep bouncing their L. So I think we have to sacrifice this and kill the Wirewood Symbiote here. Because that way, if they put anything under the bus, they can't save it. It has to go under the bus. It does make their Fiend Artisan slightly bigger. It also gives them a choice of whether or not they kill the Grists. Let us kill your Wirewood Symbiote, please. So they are also only on 8. We can't cast a Fury yet, so that's less exciting. But we do have Fire Ice in the deck as well, which can blow up or tap a guy. I don't think they want to untap a creature here. I think they just want to let this go. We come in with their Crayhoof. Okay, so losing 1 of their Shepherds, which is fine. They've got a redundant Shepherd. But that's an elf off the board, which is important for us. So this can't be a bigger creature just yet. What they can do, though, is they can block and then activate. So this will tap for 4. Yeah, so they don't have enough to pump and then activate the Reclaimer. So they've got 1 card in hand. They do have the Fiend Artisan, which can go and find things, but the things they have to find aren't great. We should have played this Mysterious Forest out earlier for fear of Opposition Agent. But this can only activate at sorcery speed. Okay, so they've got a load of mana here. So they could just pump it all into their creatures and turn them into big ones. So this also puts the... Okay, so this is not approaching lethal damage on us here. So we'll see where they send these, because they might just try and kill the Grist here. Yeah, so they're sending this in at the Grist, and they're sending this in at me. Interesting. This is at the Grist as well. So the Grist is going to die this turn. Would I rather... Do I want to block 7 damage this turn? I don't think I do want to block 7 damage this turn. I think we're just going to take it here and let the Grist die. And then hopefully we can draw... Okay, that's not one of the ones we wanted to draw. So this turn, if I attack with this, so this is hitting for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this taps for 4, 5, 6. They can just take the 5 here. I think we have to keep attacking, right? So this hits. So I assume they're not going to block this. Okay, they are going to block this. Okay, that's fine. That means the Cradle taps for 1 less, so they can't turn all their guys massive. Obviously their Fiend Artisan is quite big, but that's what the Insect Token is for, to chomp. This game is pretty close. I haven't really had much in the way to do apart from combat steps since like turn 2. But that's on me for playing this deck, really. If they have another Cradle here, then we're in some real trouble. Green Sun Zenith for 1. So this can get the Wirewood Symbiote again, so they can bounce and fog our guy. Okay, so they can return forest to untap creatures. Okay, so this is 6, 7, 8, 9. So our plan here is to draw the Fury. 5, 6, which doesn't kill them outright here. So 6, 7, 8, 9. I think we take yeah, I think we take it this turn. Puts us to 3, but if we draw the Fury, we can cast it and kill all their guys. So they've got this guy back on blocks. We did not draw the Fury, but we did draw your friend of mine, the Timeless Hero. So let's see how this guy works out for us. Does it matter what land I get here? No, so we get the best lands for the deck. Cast, so red, red, green, green. So this gets us a chump blocker for this turn. And then what we can do is we can ping this off to kill their Allosaurus Shepherd. And then we have 2 blockers for their 3 creatures, but one of them's only a 1/1. Okay, so I think this is the best play we have available to us here. So we sacrifice this, and we ping down the Shepherd. So this will grow the Fiend Artisan, but we're blocking the Fiend Artisan here, we're blocking that there. So we've drawn the Leyline Binding here. So if we play this out, that's what we have. We have island, forest, mountain, plains. So we don't have a swamp. I don't believe there is a swamp in the deck. So this doesn't actually do anything for us just yet. So we need to fade another turn here, but our opponent has got no cards in hand. So if we get another turn with Minsk and Boo, I think we're pretty good here. So let's see where these guys come in. If they attack with everything, it shuts off our fetch land. This doesn't have trample. And we have the Leyline Binding for this next turn. And then I think we're just going to try and win with the Minsk and Boo plan. So they can untap the Fiend Artisan and go searching for something if they want, but I think they need to keep an amount of blockers available to them. Okay, so they drew a Green Sun Zenith. That's a pretty good one. This could just be an Elvish Visionary just for another card and to power up their Cradle for next turn. Okay, it's just going to be another Fiend Artisan. That makes a lot of sense too. Sure, so this is a little bit of an issue for us here. What do we need here? If we draw another Leyline Binding, then we bind these 2. And that's probably going to be good for us. So yeah, let's see what we draw. I would like to make a hamster, please. Okay, so that is not a Leyline Binding. So this has to put counters on something at this turn, because I don't think pinging for 1 here helps. We need to block 2 guys. So you put counters on this Minsk and Boo. And then, so if they swing with all of their guys, we can get them with our domain spell that they won't see coming. So we want to keep the hamster alive because this is the one that grows. So I'm just going to send in These guys, sure. So we're going to go to blocks first. This guy is going to, oh no, sorry. This guy is going to go here. This guy is going to go here. So that's my blockers. And then when we get priority, we flash in the binding. White, green, flash this in. And we can bind their Fiend Artisan here. So we are losing our, well, we were losing their Creative Behemoth, but this time our Boo gets to be slightly bigger. And this also doesn't put a creature card in their graveyard. So it's going to grow the Fiend Artisan by 1 because the elf is going to die. So we kind of need to hit something here, really. Our opponent still has 1 card in hand. It's another Reclaimer. Sure. It's getting dicey out there. This can always go and find more Fiend Artisans, which is what they probably want to do now. We just needed to get them a little bit lower for the Boo. If we draw the second Minsc Boo, we win. Because we pump this one, then we throw at them for 7. So they're sacrificing their 3/4 and getting a 10/10. Sure. Pretty cool. Played a lot of this in Standard when I was still playing Arena. So look, we do not want to make this. We did not draw the Minsc Boo. So what is the choice here? Tapping guys down doesn't actually do as much as we want. So they're going to attack us with a load of stuff. So I think our out here is to sacrifice this to shoot them. And then if we draw... Yeah, if we draw another Fire and Ice here, we can kill them. We did not draw the Fire and Ice. So what is our solution to this now? I think we are just dead, right? We can make out a Fury and kill this guy, but we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need 2 more mana to be able to tap this guy down as well. So we can tap and draw a card. What could the card draw that we... If we tap to draw a card, you can tap this guy down, maybe draw another guy. They can just return a forest. So is it better to tap now, or is it better to... I can't really field any more creatures here. They're on 3 life. That's so close. I think we... This is annoying, isn't it? So the cascade spells can't hit these anymore because they changed the rules. So this doesn't actually have any targets on our deck to hit now because we've cast both of our inevitable betrayals. So if we still had the 4/4s in there, if we still have 1 4/4 in there, we could go and get that, but we don't. We can hard cast a Fury, take out 1 guy and die. So we have to draw a card. When is the right time to draw a card? Is the question. I think we have to draw in their turn and like leyline binding them sort of plan here. I think that's what we do. Yeah, okay. Ay, this is looking like another loss here. But we certainly had some fun. I kind of wish they just had a Progenitus in their deck though. But I don't think the Progenitus is actually that good. So tap this for blue, tap this for blue as well. Minsc Boo. 1 card further in than it needed to be. We are just dead here. All right. We gave it a good go, but yeah, we kind of needed the Fury a bit earlier because these Fiend Artisans got out of hand. We did put the Endurances in our deck, which would have been a great draw there because we completely shrink these guys and just be able to eat them. But yeah, I should have put more Endurances in, I think, is the lesson there. All right, let's go on to the next round. All right, this is our hand. We make turn 2 Rhinos. Is that good enough? I guess so. We have a backup Minsk and Boo later on, which is a nice follow-up threat. So I think we'll try this out. We're on the play and our opponent is a 60-card deck. So I think we play out the Misty Rainforest to represent more things, and we can also crack it to get a Mystical Dispute if our opponent does something that requires it. There's a Saga. So this could be a multitude of different decks. Ornithopter, okay. This to me looks like the Colossus Hammer deck that I am a big fan of myself. So at least I understand the inner workings of this deck quite well. Right, so we have the Stoneforge Mystic. So what's it going to get? Is it just going to get the Cauldron or is it just going to get Hammer? Tell us a lot about their hand by what they get here. I'm not convinced that these Mystical Disputes are particularly exciting in this list the more I play it. But I guess it depends what matchups you're playing, really. But I wouldn't mind seeing like just some of the pitch cast creatures here, like the Furies and Endurances. And maybe have Mystical Disputes as a sideboard choice, because Fury and Endurance are always good. Okay, to have a Cauldron complete. So we kind of have to kill the Stoneforge Mystic next turn, because a Cauldron is better than 2 Rhinos. So I think we play this out. Sacrifice this. So we get green-blue here. And then we're going to cast Fire on the Stoneforge Mystic. It's a shame we're slightly off being able to Violent Outburst this turn as well. So if we put Trophon into play, it gives us 4 of these. I'd like to cast Fire, targeting this. Red, green. Okay, so let's get rid of that. So one of the cards they have in hand isn't something they can play in the near future. They can start churning out as Saga tokens, but hopefully our little guys are going to be bigger. But maybe not for long, looking at how many are. Okay, so they're not going to be bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our guys are just getting outclassed by the Urza Saga lads, which is an issue for us. So we can bounce a token in a bit. Do we want to make this at instant speed and try and trade with one of these tokens? I don't think we want to trade with a token. I think we just want to do this at instant speed. I think that's the best play here. Like, we also have the Brazen Borrower open to us as an option, or even a Mystical Dispute if we need to. So this just gives us the most amount of options. There's no point casting it right now. So they're going to get an Urza Saga. And then they're going to make another token this turn. So I don't think this Crashing Rhinos deck is particularly good, because what our opponent's doing is just better, and that's just basically off of an Urza Saga. So I'm not massively pleased with the deck so far, but there's still some rounds to go, and this round isn't over yet by any stretch of the imagination. It's just looking a bit poor because these are going to be 7/7s. So we can double block and trade, and then we can bounce the other one. I think that's what we have to do here. Red, green, cast this. So I only have 7. So if I put 2 4/4s in front of it, then I can trade half of this Crashing Footfalls for the construct. It's not great, but if we can run them out of threats, I think that'll be fine. Also, the trample here is going to be good against the Retrofitters Foundry. Although this can just turn these into 4/4s, which again is better than what we're doing. Yeah, it doesn't feel like this is a legacy power deck that I'm playing right now. So perhaps the Wizards of the Coast rationale on leyline bindings being really, really good is also not holding up here either. I don't think the problem with this deck is necessarily the leyline bindings. I think it's the thing that you've skewed your entire deck to do isn't actually any good. Like when we get to steal like reanimated creatures with the other one, the what's it called? The bribery-esque cascade spell, that's going to feel good. Okay, so I think we just have to wait for them to equip and then bounce it. But the issue is they just got us coming and going here, really. Our cards line up so poorly against what they're doing. Jumping through hoops to make 4/4s when opponents just made 7/7s feels embarrassing. But I think the Hammer Time deck is actually a genuine Legacy power level deck. Whereas it feels like I'm playing, I don't know, I haven't played Modern for years, so maybe this is what Modern feels like, I don't know. Okay, so they're going to put this on their big guy probably to gain the most life. The fact they didn't use their retrofitters to turn their Thopter into a 4/4 last turn makes me think they don't actually know the full operations of what they can do here. Which is great news for us. Let's petty theft this. Blue. Right. Get out of here. We do get to bring in the energy flux, which is going to be good. This matchup. Okay. So maybe they want us to think that they don't know how to use the retrofitters. But if we attack now, they can just make the 4/4. So yeah, we're in a bit of a bind, but I don't think we have a choice other than to attack here, really. We can't even play out the Borrower because we don't have the mana. Are they going to make a 4/4 or not? I'm very surprised that the lack of use of this Fire Ice. That would have also been a great turn to have drawn a... I think we need to keep this up to play something up. This would have been a great turn to draw another mana source for the Minsc and Boo. Because then we could have had a Minsc and Boo this turn when our opponent isn't doing anything. Okay, so they do know about making the 4/4s. I'm surprised they didn't just do that in trade, because they're trading an Ornithopter for a 4/4 Trampler, which is pretty great in my book. So, they're going to equip this Shadow Spear? I think they are. Okay, they've just got Pure Steel Paladin. So this needs to die pretty sharpish. So they could play a Colossus Hammer here. So in response we have to kill this. Tap this for red. Tap this for green. So we have to kill this so they don't get the ability to equip this for free. Because otherwise we're taking most of our life total this turn and they're gaining a boatload of life. Like, we're still not in great shape here. Okay, so they're going to equip the Shadow Spear and bash for 5. So we are just far behind here. What is our way of winning this game? Minsc and Boo, hide behind Minsc and Boo. I think that's probably it. Like, I feel this deck would be better if it just tried casting Minsc and Boo instead of Crashing Footfalls, to be honest. So I've not played in Modern since Crashing Footfalls came out. Like the last time I played in Modern was way back. Okay, so the Leyline Binding is something we can cast here. I'm really loath to try and do this Crashing Footfall, so I think... so the Retrofitter's Foundry is just going to make a 4/4 here. I think we need to try and grind through their guys here, so I think we're just going to pass the turn. And then Leyline Binding, an opportune moment. We basically just want to keep the board under wraps until we can get our Minsc and Boo up and running. And if we can have 2 or 3 turns with Minsc and Boo, we should win the game. Alright, another construct token. So we can Leyline Binding. A Pure Steel Paladin. So this Colossus Hammer is going to hurt. So I can pitch the Elvish Spirit Guide to cast a Mystical Dispute, and they don't have the mana to pay. That feels bad. Means I don't get to cast the Leyline Binding this turn, and both of these guys come in, and we're further away from Minsc and Boo. Like, I think this game is over. but I think this is just how we have to play the game to try and win here. So they've only got 2 mana, so they can't pay for this. We can't let this resolve because then they just get the Colossus Hammer, and we'd have to use our binding on the Colossus Hammer or what the Colossus Hammer is equipped to, but then the following turn they just re-equip it to something else, and then we're massively behind. So, yeah. Not feeling great about this game. Hopefully post board can be better because we can snag their lands with our what do you call it? I attack with just this one. That's annoying. Yeah, with our energy flux we can maybe hit some of their mana sources as well. So I'm going to be a little bit all in on that if I'm being honest with you. Teferi Time Raver, that's a cool card that I can't cast. Like, keeps happening in this deck. I think you'd be better off playing Modern Living End than playing this deck, to be honest. Like, yes, that deck's weak to Leyline, but the thing it's doing is objectively far more powerful than this. Because what we're doing here is not powerful. So we're making 1/1s over there. So we have choices here. We can block the 5/5 and get rid of the Shadow Spear. And then hope to draw a land to bounce the other construct. I think that's a reasonable line to take here. Yikes. Or we can just get absolutely smashed into the ground by this Colossus Hammer. So I think we have to let them equip, and then we Leyline bind in the thing they equip to, and then we probably lose the game. Okay, so they've... I think we can... Can we scoot this one up? I think we can scoot this one up. Alright, let's go to sideboard. Alright, so the Energy Flux is good here. The Fury is good here. The Force of Vigor is good here. The Mystical Dispute is once again looking pretty bad. The Brazen Borrow actually looks pretty good here because we can bounce around some of their bits and pieces. So I like that. The Force of Will is kind of a necessary evil, I think. So you've got to find, what, 1, 2, so you've got to find 3 more. Teferi is good here because it bounces some of their bits and pieces. The Shardless Agent seems less good if we're bringing in the Energy Fluxes. So maybe we can trim on some of these. And then trim on some of our... Like, I guess the idea here is that we make a really early thing, so we kind of need our Spirit Guides. And we just trim like this. We want these for blue cards. We want these for red cards. For Fury. Right, let's just board like this. I'm not massively convinced about how this is going to go. There's an option for Endurance just as a guy. And we can strip out some more of these things and just have a guy that's alright. But they're sort of dealing in 4/4s really. So I think we're best off just submitting like this and seeing how we go. Alright, so we have the Energy Flux in our hand. We don't have the mana to cast it though. But we only need 1 more mana to cast it. And that's basically how we're going to try and win the game. So I think we keep this. And then we have a Force of Will if our opponent does anything sketchy. And we've got the Ardent Plea to pitch, so we don't have to get rid of the Energy Flux. Or we can get rid of the Shardless Agent, depending on which of these we think is better. The Ardent Plea might be better because it's not an artifact. And it also has the ability to make our 4/4s into 5/5s. Steel Shaper's Gift. Sure, so this is probably going to get Colossus Hammer. We don't really mind about that. It's fine. Okay, so we have the mana here to play the Energy Flux. Now, is there an option for getting greedy here and just making... We have to burn both of our Spirit Guides to play an Ardent Plea. No, we can't even Ardent Plea. We'd have to be the Shardless Agent here. Is the thing we can cast. So I think we have to... I think we want an Energy Flux, but we would kind of like to catch something with it. And because we're basically using our whole turn and all of these one-shot resources to do it, I think it's probably fine to just pass the turn here rather than throw it out. Okay, so we kind of want our opponent to waste a little bit of time and effort, maybe make some Saga tokens. Stoneforged Mystic. No. This is the thing that can get around it. So I think it has to be the plea here. All right. All right, so there's a guy that we can sweep up. Let's see what we draw. Another Blanco card. So I think we're gonna pass the turn again here and try and let them invest in an Urza Saga token or play out to the board. I think we need to get a little bit of value on this. Okay, so we're going to hit one of their lands as well. A Pure Steel Paladin. This is pretty bad for us, right? Because they can play the Colossus Hammer now. So I think if we take a big hit, the next time they just pay. So I think we have to burn one of these to kill the Pure Steel Paladin. So we can't cast it. Feels like this deck would be just better with some more lands in, maybe. Okay, so they can't activate this. So if we draw a land, we can Energy Flux. If we draw another Spirit Guide, we can Energy Flux. That's our plan. Okay, so draw the land. Exile this for red. Cast this with blue and blue. Put him on there. Alright, so now we have the Energy Flux. So this should really irritate our opponent. Okay, they just go straight up concede to it. Excellent. So that was some good sideboarding, I guess. These things don't hit the things we need. Invisible Betrayal's bad. I think we just resubmit it as it was. So this hand... Oh. So this hand doesn't really do anything. It's got dead card in it, so I think we mulligan. This hand has the Fury. It has the Leyline Binding. It actually has some mana in it for a change. Is Fury Leyline Binding good enough? I think so. I think it probably is here. Then we keep and put this Crashing Footfalls on the bottom. So done. Judging by how this mana base has been treating me, I don't think I can realistically mulligan to Energy Field, Flux, whatever it's called. Sigarda's Aid. Sure, this is a good one for what they're up to. A little bit late to the party there. So what we can do here is we can get Leyline Binding from turn 2 onwards. We can Force of Will pitching Ice if we need to. Or we can fire whatever they get. So that's fine, we don't care about that. So Energy Flux would be absolutely great here. Stoneforge Mystic. So do we counter this? I think we should counter this one. I think this is too good to let it resolve. A Retrofit's Foundry. Sure, that doesn't really impact us too much. Okay. So this time we're actually drawing some lands. So that's a bit different. So we're looking to maybe hardcast a Fury, and we have this Leyline Binding as well. Okay, opponent isn't doing anything. They're just going to be making Retrofit's Foundry things, which is fine by me. Because what we're about to do is way better. So let's crack this. So let's get Plateau. This one gets a Volcanic Island. We want to get double red for these. And this one gets a Tropical Island. We exile this from our hand. And we cast the big guy. Yes, I would like this guy. Put some counters on this guy. Let's go to attacks. So the one thing that we can get done by here is if they make a 1-1 at a turn and they have a Colossus Hammer in hand. We do have the Leyline Binding to deal with that, but we're going to get to take something of ours out. Either the Minsk Boo or a big chunk of our life total. Okay, so they didn't have it. So we get to untap with Minsk and Boo and Leyline Binding. So we are very much ahead of this game. None of the Crashing Footfalls stuff, though. We do not want to make a little guy here. Teferi Time Raveler is quite interesting here. So I think first things first, we want to put some counters on this. I think we want to go to attacks. So 7. think we're in a better spot if we leyline binding here. If we hold up the leyline binding, because this can answer anything, so it can keep our Boo alive, our Minsc and Boo alive. Okay, so they're going to make a 1/1 survey. So this can get rid of a Colossus Hammer or something scary. The Urza Saga token is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to be as big as Boo is now, but when I activate my Minsc and Boo, that will not be the case. So what we can do is we can attack with this. If they're relying on their Urza Saga block, we leyline bind the Urza Saga, hit them, sacrifice sacrifice Boo to finish them for the last points of damage. That is a line I'm okay with. So Minsc and Boo can take 2 damage here without too much problem. I think we continue with this play of getting the Saga going. So ideally I would have liked to have drawn a red card there. So if we attack with this, this can become a 4/4. So there's 5, 6. So they'll be taking 1 from this, and then the fling isn't enough to kill them. Interesting. I would have liked a red card for the Fury here. I think we activate this just to make our guy bigger here. So I have to throw multiple things under the bus here. And we might be able to just blow them out with a leyline binding if they're relying on this soaking up all the damage. Trample. It's a good ability. The power of hamsters compels me. So they're going to make a big construct. This is an 8/8. How much are they going to put under the bus here? I suspect they're going to use their Retrofits Foundry and make a 4/4 and then block with the 8/8 and the 4/4. So they can kill the Minsc and Boo. Sure. Then when they go to blocks here, they're just blocking with the 4/4. Okay, so if we cast this leyline binding on this, that's lethal. And most of these builds did not run Swords to Plowshares. I was running Swords to Plowshares, but very few of the builds online were running Swords to Plowshares, and I doubt they would necessarily run it here. Let's get rid of this, and then we'll just come through for 10. Yeah, okay, so we got a match. Wasn't necessarily expecting to get many with how this deck's been going, but we found a line through it. Leyline binding won us the game. Obviously, it's too OP. It's keeping Delver in check after all, right? Right, on to round 4, I think it is. So this is our opening hand. It doesn't do anything. We have to mulligan. This is our opening hand. It doesn't do anything. We're probably going to have to mulligan. This is turn 2. I guess we can keep this. And so we only need 2 lands really. So we can bin off a land and a leyline binding. So we've got 1 leyline binding to deal with stuff, and then we make 2/2. We make 4/4s. Okay, so our opponent's played a snow-covered plains. That could mean one of several things. So we'll play out this Flooded Strand, and we'll pass. And then in their end step next turn, we can make some Rhinoceroses. A Rishadan Port. So this looks like Death and Taxes. So I think we need to play out this. And we make some Rhinoceroses. Flicker Wisp. Sure. Not very good against Rhinoceroses. They get to untap their planes there. Interesting. Right, let's move in on these now. So we get the Tundra. Blue source. Yeah. So we're going to cast this for red, white, green. They're going to see that we're playing a bit of a janky deck and probably think, oh good, we're playing a real Legacy deck, so we're going to have a good time here. Well, this might be one of the matchups where this is okay. Not entirely sure about that, but we'll see. Okay, so we have this card that we can't do anything with here. But we can leyline binding if stuff pops off. Attack with all creatures. Swords to Plowshares is one of my creatures. Yep. Expected. You have a Rishdam Port, but our spell has flash, so put the Jitte on that guy. So we have a choice of either removing the Jitte or removing the Flicker Wisp. Now if I remove the Flicker Wisp, I'm probably going to regret it later. We'll get rid of the Umezawa's Jitte. But we are ahead in the race. But we don't really have a way of doing anything else with our turn here. Because this deck doesn't really do a lot, if I'm being honest. Let's play this out. We attack, because that's what our deck does. So, I'm not finding this deck particularly interesting, if I'm being honest with you all. Kind of just throw out your spell and hope that it's good enough. Rather play like the old Hypergenesis decks of old. Obviously there's a lot of broken stuff that other people are putting into play, which is probably why people aren't doing that. Okay, they're coming in for 3, which means they're probably looking at the cards in their hand. They've worked out that they can race me or whatever. Okay, so we're going to get ported off of blue, maybe? Like, we have the Wood of Foothills anyway, if we draw a thing that can do anything here. The Brazen Borrower here is not the end of the world. We can do some little shenanigans with it. Tricksy play. I could Force of Will this and leave our opponent with 1 card in hand. I honestly think that's probably the best thing I can do. I think we're just all in on this crappy little Rhino. Skyclave Apparition can't hit the Rhino, which is nice, but if they can get Skyclave Apparition, it can't hit this actually, can it? Because it's 6 mana, so thinking about it. Okay, Thalia. So they can double block and kill my Rhino. Is that their plan? No. They're going... This has Trample, so they can't do the block and Caracas trick to prevent the damage. So, what do we got here? Ports, yep, sure. I wasn't using any mana anyway. This deck doesn't seem to like using mana. It needs lots of mana and then needs none. So we can Fire Ice when the time comes as well. So we can tap down a blocker or kill a blocker. Let's see what our opponent does with their final... Well, not necessarily their final draw step, but... So we can Fire Ice and just kill both of these creatures, if that's what they're going to be trying to block with. Stoneforge Mystic. Like, we can't do anything about it anyway, but what they're going to get here, probably Cauldra, I would assume. Batterskull. Okay, so Batterskull is something they can cast next turn. So we have to win on this coming turn, really. So, they did not attack, which is awkward for us. So... I think what we do at end of turn is cast Fire and kill 2 of their guys and hope that we can draw the thing to kill 2 more of their guys. Fire. This guy. This guy. Okay. Red. Red. White. So they can bounce with the Caracas, but it won't be in play for the blocks this turn. So they're going to have to block with their Stoneforge Mystic, which means they have to hardcast the Batterskull. So we're still getting ported off of something here. Which means you can't hardcast a Force of Will if we draw one. Simian Spirit Guide. Not the best creature I've ever seen. Okay. You going to block with your Stoneforge to survive? Yes. Okay. And then we are playing out... Oh! No, controls of that. We are playing out this guy. Red, blue, blue. The Monkey Beatdown. So we have two lethal threats, but they're about to play a lifelink creature. And lifelink is not a triggered ability, so they will gain a life before dying. So I need to draw another Leyline Binding. Apparently, as Wizards would let you believe, it's a powerful card, so maybe it's good enough here. Sure. So you have the Batterskull. So if we draw Brazen Borrower, does it for us. A Leyline Binding does it for us. So there's those 6. A Fire Ice does it for us. There's another 3. So there's 9 cards. A Teferi, 10. Minsk and Boo is another 2. So there's 11, 12. So we got a lot of outs here. We're going to draw one of them. We drew a land. So if we attack with just a 4/4, they trade off. And then what is the question? If we attack with a 4/4 and a 2/2, they can block the 2/2 and go to 2 and stay on 2. Or if they block this, I take 2. But then they're going to swing back and get 4. Yikes. Flickwisp is very good against us here. If we attack with both of them, they're probably just going to block the Spirit Guide. Whew. I think we have to just get the Batterskull off the table here. So this is bad, isn't it? They can 2-step this 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it's going to take them a long time to bounce and replay this. So hopefully we can draw a Minsk and Boo or something like that, or one of our things that deals with it. But every turn that we have a token in play, Flickerwisp is a good draw for them. And I think we just had to get the Batterskull off the board there. It's grim. It's not looking great for our hero. Expedition map. We got a Maze of Ith in there. Or something weird. Expedition map is presumably meaning that they're playing an Urza's Saga deck. That would be my assumption. Yeah, there's the Urza's Saga. And then they have a Thalia, which has first strike. My creature does not have first strike. So they can't waste us off green because we have a Scalding Tarn in hand, which can go and get us a Trop. Another one of these little lads. Sure. So now they get to put the Batterskull on their Thalia. So I think the game has run away from us now. We had a bunch of draws that could have won us the game on that turn. We did not draw them. So what we could have, we had Teferi, 3 Fire and Ice, 3 Brazen Borrower, and 3 Leyline Bindings. So we had a decent chunk of things we could have drawn last turn, but alas was not to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, surely you just equip the Batterskull and swing here. Yeah, okay. They found the line of putting me in the absolute dirt. Sure. Big Thalia coming in. Big Thalia hitting me. Swapping our life tails around. And we're drawing another one of these Spirit Guides. Okay, I think we're done here. Yikes. We were close, I think. Very close. So Force of Vigor kills some of their stuff that we want to kill. Furies are good here. The Inevitable Betrayal is interesting, I suppose, because you can go and steal their Palace Jailer, but I don't think we're in the mood for that. These Mystical Disputes have been awful all day, so they're going to go. Endurance is a guy that is just a better body than what they're doing, so I don't hate that. The Energy Flux is good against their equipment and Ether Vials, but beyond that doesn't do a great deal. I don't even like Force of Will here. Like, there's a few things that I want to kill, but I think we're better off just having a boatload of removal, and then we can just trim on, like, what, Shardus Agent, I guess, or no, it's probably the Ardent Plea. I think it's probably on with trim on, and we'll basically just play a red-green deck now. Maybe this deck, I guess I understand why it's running the Force of Wills and things, to be fair. It's one of the best things you can do under it. I don't know, this deck just feels a little bit anemic to me. Doesn't have a lot. you know, it doesn't do an awful lot. You do one thing and then you hope that's good enough. So this can't even do that one thing. I don't think we're going to win a long game. I think we need to get something down and then disrupt them. So that's mulligan. This hand doesn't do anything. So that's mulligan. Yikes. Like this has Minsk and Boo, and the cards and the colours to cast. So I think we could keep this and just play Minsk. We just play Violent Outburst into Minsk and Boo and hope that's good. Maybe. I think we put this on the bottom. Like, if I want to keep these, yes, that's what we do here. We're weak to Flicker Wisps here. If we're trying to rely on this plan, like if we draw any sort of mana acceleration, we can get them. Obviously, our entire mana base gets absolutely ruined by Wastelands, but that's another problem with this deck. Snow-covered plains, Aethervar, sure. So it wasn't the Wasteland. We did not draw. Okay, so play this one out for the leyline binding. So we didn't draw the mana source, but for the instant mana source. We've drawn a permanent mana source. So we've secured our turn 3 into turn 4 curve here. Now, is this curve going to be good? Who knows? Red, green, and then this. Let's pass for our turn, and we make some Rhinos at their end step, and hope that that does something. So they're going to get Mother of Runes here, most likely. Sure. The trample's fine around the Mother of Runes, so she can't soak up too much damage. She's not just like a roadblock. There's a Saga. Thalia. So we have to cast this in response to Thalia. So green, red, white. Cast this. Go and get us some stuff. Oh no, is this an Aether Sworn Canonist? That'd be bad for us. Yeah. So I can't cast any spells. Great. Yeah, this deck feels terrible. I don't really know how anyone managed to 5-0, let alone multiple 5-0s with this deck. So we can cast one spell a turn. We can't cast Minsk and Boo, so we can play out a 2-2 here, or we can hold the 2-2 and hope to draw some removal. Jeez. Yeah, I think we are donezo in this matchup. Arguably this league, but you never know. We might be able to get somebody with a bribery. So we just F6 our opponent's turn and let them beat us down. No, we're not doing anything. So removing these guys is going to be borderline impossible. We can try and surprise them with an endurance in their turn. I don't even know if that's going to be good enough. We can Minsk and Boo and get a 4-4 here. Is that good enough? If we get a 4-4, we can... So they're going to make a token this turn. It's going to be a 1-2-3 power guy. And then they're going to activate it again and make it 4 power. So the 4-4 is going to be bad. The endurance is going to be bad. I don't really know how we're supposed to win this game. I think we have to play the endurance out in their turn to try and get the Mother of Runes down for a turn and then draw Fury. I think that is the play here. And then we can try and sweep out the Aether Sworn Canonist and the Mother of Runes whilst trying to survive. That's the line we're going for. I don't think it's good, but I think it's the only one that we have available to us that has a chance of winning the game. I think playing Minsk and Boo out now doesn't do anything, which is sad. And I don't think playing the Shardlet, just playing a 3-mana 2-2 is going to be particularly exciting. Okay, obviously the more time that goes by, the worse this Aethervar is going to get for us because it can put in all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So, sure. So they're also going to go and get probably a Shadow Spear here, but it could be just another Aethervar, sure. And they got the port here, which they can't use yet. I'm going to go to attacks. And we're going to flash this guy in. Oh, we need to crack this for a green source first. Let's get Savannah. We're already in on our non-basics here, aren't we? Would I rather have a Violent Outburst in my deck or them to have a on the side? I don't really care. I think that's fine. They might have some sort of Crucible-y type thing in their deck. It seems very unlikely, but okay. Is this Flicker Wisp? Is this Skyclave Apparition? Is there... Who knows what it could be? I'm sure whatever it is bad for us. Sure, Skyclave Apparition. So the Mother of Runes isn't down. So we can take a big smack in the face here. And then we're going to untap. We're going to draw nothing useful. And then we're going to concede the game. Excellent. I would say this deck is not performing great for me here. So I don't know how low you're supposed to mulligan to try and make 2 4/4s on turn 1, but that's doesn't feel like... When I was playing Dreads the other day and I was making 8 power on turn 1, it didn't feel great. And that was where I had other things going on the turns after that. So this deck is not impressing me. But we've got one more round to go. Let's see if we can salvage a 2-3 from this wreckage. Sitting down for this round, I've just realised that the previous round I could have cast the Shardless Agent into the Ethos Canvas because it itself is an artifact. So I missed putting 4/4s that could have completely changed that game. I still think I'm losing it, but it was a massive oversight on my part I've just thought of, which is kind of annoying, but I don't think my heart is really in playing this deck today. It's not really sparking any joy within me. Anyway, let's carry on. So this is our opening hand. We have enough mana to do the thing on turn 1, but we don't have the thing. What we do have, though, is a turn 1 Minskaboo here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I guess we keep and just play a turn 1 Minskaboo and hope that's good. Like, if they counter this, we just lose the game, I think. But green, green, red, green. Now, if they have a Force of Will, we just lose the game, I think. Yeah. Whew. Like, of all the things you can go all in on your hand to do, that's a pretty weak one, to be honest. Like, Winskaboo is a powerful card, don't get me wrong. If I get stick on turn 1, then we're probably going to win the game. But there's much more powerful things you can all in your hand to do. Like, we've sort of got like reanimator levels of like dedication and resources from our hand, but the thing we're doing isn't as good as a 7/7 with lifelink and draw abilities. So yeah. Trying to work out what this deck's good matchups are. Tarmogoyf. I guess so. A Shardless Agent. So I guess we get the thing that powers out our... Oh, we can't get a plateau here, can we? So we need to get a red source, I think. And we ideally need a red or a white source. I think we need to get a white source more than we need a red source here, right? So if we get white... Blue, so we can cast Brazen Borrower. That makes sense to me. So we go blue, green, green. Let's play this 2/2 and see if we can get 2 4/4s. Like, this might be alright in this situation. Like, it's going to be bigger than what our opponent's doing. For now, obviously. Yeah, they have a daze. We cannot pay. Sure, daze my 2/2, why not? That felt wholly unnecessary. Sure, just really showing that they're playing a real deck and I'm not, I guess. Really rubbing it in. Wasteland, sure. So we've got 6, 7. They're just trying to pump their Nimble Mongoose at this point. So if we draw a land, we can at least bounce a Tarmogoyf. And then it's going to be a couple of turns before they can deploy that. Or we could just not draw that. So it's totally fine. So 6, 7. So we're not dead this turn unless they have a way of getting Threshold and a Lightning Bolt. So I think if they ponder anything, we counter it. Because this Mystical Dispute isn't doing anything else. Okay, so we need to draw a land for the Brazen Borrower here. It's not a land. We do it in their turn, in the upkeep probably, because it's because of Force of Negation. Blue. Petty Theft on Tarmogoyf. Do I get to live for another turn? I'm not particularly in the mood for living for another turn, considering the level of enjoyment I'm getting from playing this deck. Okay, so we get to live for a turn. But we know they've got another island in hand. Because we've seen it. I'm surprised they brainstormed there instead of just waiting and playing out another land. Yeah, they could have just had the Tarmogoyf back. Seems like a bit of an error to me. No, it's not going to matter at all in this game. Like, we're completely... Okay, they've got 2 Shroud threats. How do I beat 2 Shroud threats with my nothing deck? Okay, we'll concede. Right, it's nearly over. So what's good here? The Endurance is pretty good against Tarmogoyfs and Nimble Mongoose. The Fury is probably fine here. Is Crashing Footfalls going to be better than Invisible Betrayal? Would I rather have 2 4/4s or 1 Tarmogoyf? Probably would rather have the 4/4s, I think, right? And we'd use these, and we're trying to shrink Tarmogoyfs anyway. Does that make sense? We probably just want to bin off some of this supposed combo that isn't really doing us a lot of favours. So, the Ardent Plea is harder to cast, I think. The Force of Will feels like a necessity here, but I'm not sure how good it is. We could always just cut Forces of Will and just play removal and just try and have bigger guys. Yeah, I'm down with that. The Fury is going to hit Delvers and maybe little Tarmogoyfs. The Mystical Dispute is a 1/1, so I don't mind keeping that. We can keep these in just so we have more things for our combo. Is that going to be better than Mystical Dispute? Maybe. No, I think we leave the Mystical Disputes in this time. The one time we're keeping them in. What does this hand accomplish? I don't think it does anything. We have 1 land and a Spirit Guide, so I think I'm going to mulligan. So, will they have a Force of Will? Who knows? We'll put this back. Say done. Oh wait, no, I can't even do that, can I? I haven't got enough mana to do it all. No, I think we're just in trouble here. Okay, so they didn't play a Wasteland, so that's another turn that we get to play this game for. Drawn a Tundra. So at this point, if they crack their Misty Rainforest, I will deploy the Violent Outburst, I think. We don't have green mana, actually. We can't even cast it. What am I doing? No, this hand was terrible. Oh, lordy. What am I doing? I shouldn't have kept this hand. If you haven't guessed, you've probably noticed that my heart's not really in this particular deck in this league today. This has not been the most exciting one for me. Okay. So now we can play it around a daze. And we can also get a bit closer to being able to cast an Endurance. So if they use a Wasteland, we have to fire off our stuff. I think we just float red first. And then when they go to move phases. Cut this. They got Stifle? They did not have a Stifle. Then we get a snow-covered forest here. Probably should have been a tiger. Here goes nothing, I guess. Oh, I'm misplaying a little bit here. If this was a tiger, then we're in better shape. Cast without playing its mana cost, please. So if they go for a daze here, I can get around it. I can't get around Spell Pierce though. No. At least my creatures are going to get +1/+0 though, right? Okay, so we've drawn a Savannah. So that's a thing we can actually do. And we only need 1 more red mana source and we can make a Fury. Our opponent seems to be taking a very controlling route in this game. When they really just need to counter like 1 spell. Is this going to be just a True Name Nemesis? How do we feel about True Name Nemesis? I guess we cast this. Green, green. We'll shuffle their graveyard in. Like, this might not even resolve. We'll see. Works like this. They could have another daze. Force of Will. They could just let it go because the True Name Nemesis has got it covered. But it just means that I can shrink their graveyard for their other threats, and it means that I have something that means if they attack, I can clock them back. Oh, they did have another daze, sure. Alrighty then. Rug Delver is the deck that I used to play a lot back in the day. A long, long time ago. Sort of around the time when the first Commander products were ever released was when I was playing a lot of Rug Delver. And the deck is pretty similar to how it was. Alright, so we can't cast any of the spells in our hand, so I guess we say go. We can't hit this with Fury. It's the long, slow march to free. Although this guy is a threat that's so big that they'd have to hold back the True Name. So there is that. We can't bounce the true name either. We can bounce another threat and then maybe draw a blue source to try and get a flyer into play. They don't seem to be running a lot in the way of flyers here. I haven't seen a delver out of them yet. So this is a mana source that lets us cast a flyer. Doesn't let us cast this Fury though. Got a lot of cards in our deck that don't really seem very cohesive together. Right, we've got this mana base that, like, to be fair, I should have got a tiger with this instead of a snow-covered forest, which means we could cast the Fury this turn. So that's definitely on me, that one. But I've certainly had issues earlier on with mana. I think this deck is just not quite there. I like the cascadey stuff, but I don't think what you're cascading into is worth cascading into. Okay, so they have a delver now. That's nice for them. Cast a Brazen Borrower. Blue, blue, 1. So the only option we have is racing the delver. So we need to get a threat down. So this can go and get us a threat that's big enough to race if they want to keep turning it sideways. And so you've got double white already. We've got lots of blue. Got lots of green. I guess we will cast this Fury. This is probably good enough to get a Force of Wood if they have one. Yeah. Okay, yeah, just had a Force of Wood as well. So how do we win this game? Minsk and Boo. Make a Boo attack with it. They waste their time killing Minsk and Boo. Then I draw another Minsk and Boo. And have a really big guy with trample. And maybe that's enough. But they could probably have us dead next turn. If we needed this to not flip for that line to work with the Minsk and Boos. So Leyline Binding buys us a turn. Yeah, that sums up this league to me. I think we're going to concede it. Well, we're dead next turn anyway. Let's concede. Right, let's take a look at the deck. So I would say this is the worst deck that I've played on my channel so far. It doesn't feel like a Legacy deck. It feels like, well, I don't know. I haven't played Modern for a long time. I know there is a Crashing Footfalls deck in Modern, but it feels like it's many orders of magnitude weaker than what everyone else is doing in Legacy. I think putting 2/4/4s into play on turn 1 isn't very good these days. Like, it's fine, you know, and you'll be able to steal some games with it, but I don't think it's good enough. And the amount of resources you're dedicating to do this is a lot. You know, you've basically got all these slots here dedicated to just making 2/4/4s on turn 1, which doesn't even happen that often because you need to have the right spirit guides, the right spells to cast, and it has to resolve. So yeah, it seems pretty weak to me. The best things we did in this game, in this league, was cast Minsk and Boo. To be honest, that was the best thing that we really achieved. I did enjoy casting the Bribery with Cascade. That was with Suspend. That was quite fun. Didn't do us any good, but it was kind of fun. We're playing like white as well here, so we're playing a load of extra colours, which makes the mana base worse. I definitely had a lot of mana problems for like a 19 land deck. I spent a lot of times where I had one land and then Spirit Guide, so I had one shot to do something, and then it was over. And usually it didn't work. So I just don't think this deck is viable in Legacy. I know there's one user I've seen their name crop up a few times with 5-0s with this deck, which is where I got it from. I am perplexed as to how that's the case. I can understand if you run pretty hot, so your opening hands are like a few lands, and then you've got 1, 2, so you've got one of these spells. I think so. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 of your cards there, and then like some Force of Wills and blue cards. But there's not even like the biggest array of blue cards because you're having to use your blue cards to do your combos. So you spend your blue card, then you don't always have one for Force of Will, especially if you're mulliganing, because it's so resource intensive to make 2/4/4s on turn 1 when you could just play like Sneak and Show or Reanimator and do much more broken things. Like you can play black blue Reanimator or black blue Sneak or the green blue Sneak attack deck, sorry, not sneak attack. Green blue show and tell deck. I think is just, you know, it's still got the counter spell aim like side of the deck. So yeah, I think this deck is not one that I'm going to be saying nice things about, to be honest. Sideboard wise, our sideboard cards were better than our main deck cards, I think. So like Fury and Endurance are better cards than these, to be most of the time. Like I think they're just better cards. They don't require as much resources, and they're useful. Like Fury when it's good is absolute top draw. These mystical disputes felt pretty bad because you don't necessarily have that much mana at any point in time. Like, because all your mana is temporary, it's sometimes going to be hard to even have this to cast for a counter spell, and you're not going to have time with so many like strong tempo decks, and you know, people just putting better things into play. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about that. If you stuck through to the end watching this video to enjoy me being tortured, why not subscribe and help me out? I could do with a subscriber. I'm trying to get monetized by Christmas, so I need to get loads and loads more subscribers. Alright, I think I'm done with this deck, and I will never ever play it again. Alright, thank you everyone for watching, and goodbye.